19 when she decided she wanted to make a change in her life. She was a freshman in college with a world of opportunity ahead of her. She wanted to go longer distances than she ever had before. Each day, she woke up, made breakfast, stretched, put on her clothes, and began to walk. Each day, she walked farther and farther than she ever had before. And every day, she got faster and faster. But what was waiting at the end of Mary's finish line? What was she waking up each day to prepare for? 13.1. 13.1 long, hard miles are waiting at the end of Mary's finish line. She is in the process of training for a half marathon. Everyone has to start somewhere. We can't just all wake up one day and become long-distance runners. And running a half marathon is not an easy task. It takes patience, endurance, and strength. Have you ever known anyone that wants to run a long-distance marathon? Or have you ever wanted to run a long-distance marathon? I know I have, but I've always doubted myself and thought I couldn't do it. But with the right plan, you can do it. And turns out a lot of people have felt this way too. Everyone has to start somewhere. There are 3 main steps you must take to build up to running a half marathon. These steps include controlling your mind, getting physically prepared, and being active, and coming up with a running plan. The first step out of all 3 of them is to set aside any negative thoughts you have. Tommy's Half Marathon Guide claims that it is just as important to get your mind ready as it is to get your body ready. You have to put away all your subconscious thoughts of you asking yourself if you can actually do this. In her book, Shut Up and Run, Robin Arzon states that if your mind believes you can, your body will adapt. So if you believe you can, you will be able to run these 13.1 miles. You have to remember that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. Another good way to get your mind ready is to talk to someone who has run a half marathon before. It's really great to ask them what tips and tricks they have and see what worked for them. Once you find out what worked for them, you can incorporate it into your training plan. It's also really important to find out what didn't work for them. This is good so you can take note of it and make sure you don't make the same mistakes as they do. It's also good to just see and talk to someone who's been there and done that so you know exactly what to expect and exactly what you're going through. You're going to get the best advice from someone who's done it. Now that you are mentally prepared, you must get physically prepared. The first step to getting physically prepared is to go to a doctor and make sure you are healthy. The number 1 thing you should check is to make sure you don't have high blood pressure. Gramage Hildlich, who is an experienced marathon runner and who knows a lot about health and how to get things done, states that high blood pressure is one of the number 1 silent killers. If you go on this journey and start to run a half marathon but you have high blood pressure, you could possibly get injured or get hurt. Another way that you can get physically ready is to purchase the right clothes. You need to make sure you know what season you're going to be running in and what season you'll be training in. If you're going for the winter, it's really important to make sure you get enough layers. So this would include something like a jacket, and it's really good that it's dry fit. All your clothes should be dry fit because cotton absorbs all your sweat, but it just bounces off. And if you have a light fit jacket, it's very breathable, and you can also fit layers underneath it because it's loose. You should also make sure you have mittens and gloves and hats when you're running in the winter. Your ears and your hands are the number 1 prone place to get hypothermia. If you're running in the summer, you should wear a lot of shorts and tank tops. Stick to loose-fitting things that are very breathable. You don't want to get overheated. This can be very dangerous. Another way to get physically ready is to pick out the right shoes you need to wear. Tennis shoes are a huge thing when it comes to running a half marathon. It's really important to figure out which shoe works best for you. I personally went to a Track Shack in my community that helped me pick out the right shoe for me. It's really important that you get the right sole to prevent injury. There are thousands of different shoes to pick from, so a lot of times it can be helpful having a professional help you out. The next and final step is to train. You must make sure your intensity is right. You don't want to push yourself too hard, but you don't want to go too easy. If you push yourself too hard, you won't be able to train as hard the next day, and you could injure yourself. But if you don't push yourself enough, you won't be improving. It's also really important to eat the right food and make sure you get enough nutrients. The 3 nutrients that we as humans need are carbs, fats, and proteins. Suzanne Prickle at NutriFocus Nutrition recommends 3 to 6 ounces of protein, a flat-sized serving of carbs, and a golf ball size of fat in every meal you eat. If you do this, you'll have the most energy so that you can train to the best of your ability. Another thing you can do to get ready before a race is to carb load. It's really important to eat a lot of carbs and things like bananas or oatmeal and bread or other carbs before a race. This is because carbs are the #1 form of energy our body uses while we're working out. If you don't eat enough carbs, you're going to crash halfway through. An article in Runner's World that they recently published said it's really important to stretch. If you're running and you don't stretch before or after a run, you're making yourself so much more prone to injury. It's really important to make sure you stretch your calves, your knees, and your thighs. If you don't, you could end up injured. I recently got injured running, and my doctor told me that it could have been prevented if I would have stretched better. So you don't want to be wearing one of these, and you want to make sure that you stretch before and after each run. In conclusion, running a half marathon is no easy task. You must prepare your mind and body. It can take up to 6 months depending on your ability to train up to a half marathon. After a long 6 months for Mary, it was finally race day. She had trained and with sweat dripping down her face and a pounding heart, she crossed the finish line. All she could think about was all of the hard work she had put in and how much it had paid off. She didn't think about all the pain she went through to get there. As she crossed the finish line, she was as happy as can be and in bliss, knowing that she had accomplished her goal. And you can too if you follow these steps.